About
The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
The best ideas are free with Ben Young from Bwaggy.com.
BWAGY.com. It was Ben Young who went along to something called Ice Ideas on Friday and talking about ice. He's in the ice house at the moment in Auckland City, telling us all about it. G'day there, Ben.
Good morning.
Good morning. So Ice Ideas. What was the idea behind this whole conference?
Yeah, so you've hit the nail on the head with the connection. Ice Ideas was created by the Ice House to celebrate 10 years of the Ice House, but to also focus kind of on New Zealand Inc. as a whole.
Yeah.
And basically what their view and the common view is that we need over the next 10 years, we need to develop 3,000 internationally competitive companies which will export about $1 billion each year, and the flow-on effects from that should help us bump up into the top half of the OECD.
3,000 companies. That's a fairly ambitious plan, isn't it?
It's fairly ambitious. But if you look at the numbers, I think the Ice House, I forget the numbers. I think they're looking at doing several hundred a year over the next few years. So they're basically saying, here's what we're doing, we want to see what you guys are doing. And so what they did is they got a whole lot of awesome speakers in for the day. I think they had 26 or 33 speakers. I forget the final amount. But they had tons of really, really good business speakers, most of which people would pay a reasonable amount just to see by themselves.
Yeah.
And so a couple of notable ones were Peter Thiel. So he was the co-founder of PayPal. And then he was the first significant investor in Facebook, and he's been an investor in a lot of other ventures since then. And as he said, he's been coming to New Zealand off and on for 18 years. And, he clearly likes the place. He's invested in Xero. Mm-hmm. He's also invested in Pacific Fibre to help, New Zealand get that great internet connection back to the States. We also had Rod Drury speaking, founder of Xero.
Yep.
We've had Derek Handley, co-founder of the Hyper Factory.
Now, he gave a very inspiring talk right at the end, didn't he, on Friday? Can you tell us about what you remember from what he said?
Yeah, so basically it was a little bit TED style. Each of the speakers were to tackle one idea on what they think, New Zealand as a whole could do to help reach this ambitious goal. And so they're all talking about different components and, talking about the problem as they see it and the idea to solve it. And so throughout the day there were lots of different focuses, based on people's past experience on what they think we should do. Now, Derek was the final speaker, so he was actually in a tough spot really because people have been placing calls to action all day.
Yeah. And
what he did is he kind of wrapped it up and he said, I'm reading an article from the future. It's in Time magazine in 2031.
Yeah.
And he just kind of talked through all the things he sees happening based on all the other speakers to actually help us get into the top half of the OECD and become, world renowned for what we're going to do over the next 10 to 15 years. So it was really good. He was just talking about how some businesses are going to go public and how we're going to have such high quality of businesses creating export dollars and those kind of things. So he made all the other speakers' input really tangible.
Yeah.
So it was a really, really nice way to finish it off and to really get people thinking about how we're all personally going to be involved in this.
Yeah, yeah, which is a really good takeaway message at the end, right at the end of the day. I thought it was great.
Yeah, Rod Drury, who was just before Derek, was really, really good. Basically, he was talking about, listing your company to raise capital and to grow it. Clearly, he's done that with Xero, and it's worked out very well for him and for Xero. But he was saying, look, the reality is let's not beat around the bush. New Zealand as a whole needs to create more export dollars. It doesn't mean anything unless we create more export dollars. So he was saying that every Kiwi should be personally responsible for helping create export dollars. He was saying conversations around the barbecue should be, how many dollars have you exported in the last week?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And he's hit the nail on the head. Like you and I have talked about it on the show before. It doesn't matter what we do internally. Like there are a whole lot of things we can do around efficiency and profits. The reality is, for us to play in a global economy, we need to export more of what we do, and we need to do it in a more efficient manner. So I really, really like that one, of course.
Yeah. Now I can't remember who was talking about this, but I think it was a theme that threaded throughout the day from when I was tuning in via the live stream. Was the idea that New Zealand could be the Silicon Valley of green technology? That we're right now at the beginning of an opportunity where we could go down either, crossroads. We could stick with just doing the primary produce and all that kind of stuff, and maybe we won't be as prosperous in the future, or we could really capitalise on the image that we have, but take it to the next level. Yeah, so
there were lots of discussions around that. There was even someone, and forgive me, there were so many speakers, I forget all their names, that they were talking about how if we can grow agriculture just 5% a year and focus on technology and innovation, we can grow that pie, but we can also grow the share of profit within that. And if you think about all the export dollars we have now, and let's say the profit margin is 10%, and we can, through technology and innovation, push that to 20 or 30%, which is what high growth technology companies do have as profit margins. That's a drastic change in our economy, because you're essentially unlocking a whole lot of capital, which we can use to reinvest in other areas.
Yeah.
And so there were a few others talking about that. There was Sean Simpson of LanzaTech, hugely inspiring company. Basically, they've developed some microbes, and forgive me, there's not enough time to go into huge details, but it's around reusing waste gases.
Yeah.
And the potential for that is to be a $50 billion company, which is amazing. Yeah. And I think in the last 2 years, they spent 5 years developing it, but in the last 2 years, they're now in 26 different countries.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
And one of the big messages I also took out of the day was that, don't wait around for government to sort it out and to help you out. They may come in at some point further down the track, but you really got to get off your ass now and get into it yourself.
Yeah, there was a common thread. Basically, it was a call to arms, right? Don't be complacent. If you're not scaring yourself a bit, you're probably not getting out of your comfort zone enough. Just stop being complacent. If you need something, get it and move on. There was a lot of talk around... I picked up on this around sales. We need to get better at sales, and if an entrepreneur needs to get better at sales, just take a course and get better at sales. Yeah. Because that's not something that, should really be holding us back. It's not a skill that's unattainable. It's just, with a bit of education and practice, we can all get better at it. And Rob Adams, who came over from the US, he really touched on what it's like to be an entrepreneur and how hard it is, and that really it's not that money. His rule was no one was allowed to complain about money, right? Yeah. Not able to get money. And he was basically saying, look, get better at your ideas, get better at selling them, and keep pitching. You'll get the money. And if you're not, well, clearly you're doing something wrong. And I think he's kind of hit the nail on the head. We can't really wait for all these other changes to happen. If we need to do something, we just need to do it. There's no point in waiting 5 years or complaining that the government hasn't done this, or that the economic situation is doing, hasn't been so good. It's just get on and do it. All around the world, time and time again, it shows that the best entrepreneurship and the best companies come out of places of constraint. And in New Zealand, we do have a lot of constraints, but we have companies that are very good at getting around them. Yeah. And it really shouldn't be an excuse, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you certainly are in the hub of it there at the Ice House, and I imagine there's a lot of energy there this morning, a lot of people talking about what happened on Friday, and a lot of people just getting stuck in. And we'll now let you go back out there and get stuck in as well.
Yeah, we're doing it with our own company. Just on one final note, if people want to check out and submit their own projects, they can go to 3000.org.nz, and that's the number 3000. That that's a website set up by the Ice House for New Zealand Inc. for the collective good. And basically they want to highlight all the projects which are going to help us hit this target. So people can jump on, find out about the projects, find out how they can help, because we can all help in different ways. Or if you're already doing something, submit your project so you can get more people behind you.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And of course, also there will be, no doubt, videos from Friday's session up there as well, eventually as well. Hey, Ben Young, people can go and continue the conversation with you, of course, on Twitter, twitter.com/BWAGY and BWAGY.com. Thanks, mate.
Excellent. Cheers.